we're ready to go. Good evening, welcome to the regular meeting of North Branford Planning and Zoning for Thursday, June 1st. In attendance are regular members Halkran and Dulac, alternate member Mace. First order of business would be the minutes from May 18th, which we can't do because there's only two of us who are here for that, so we'll table that to the next meeting. So next business item is the continuation of public hearing, the proposed amendments to the zoning subdivision regulations. So we've had a couple changes on two of them.
Right. So if we start with the text amendment proposal in front of you, for the zoning regulations, in front of you is revised language regarding the lighting. So this week I met with Donna Pursley, who's a resident in town, and we talked about some different options. The new proposed language would, this is for lighting of the American flag. It would say, lighting for the American flag may deviate from these standards, which is to have it be downlit. Because, to back up, so you remember the whole purpose.
Yep.
Flags are considered signs, signs have to be lit from above.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about having language that would make an exception for the American flag, but then we also wanted to protect, dark skies and lumens and limit all of that. So this tries to do all of that. So this proposed wording says, lighting for the American flag may deviate from these standards, but shall comply with 41.2.2 and 41.2.11. It is preferred that the flag be lit from the top down and the total number of lumens output from any light fixture mounted on top of a flagpole is limited to 800.
What's 41.2.11?
Those are the lighting regulations, which
The
include.
standard regulations we have.
And what's 41.2.2 read?
So 41. .2.11 is part of the site development plan standards, and that's the lighting. And that gets into all exterior lights and illuminated signs, how they're designed, that they have to maintain horizontal luminance recommendations. They have to be full cutoff, shielded fixtures, and that this is where it also talks about the uplighting exception for externally lit signs in the town design districts, but that any floodlighting must be shielded to prevent disability glare for drivers or pedestrians, light trespass beyond the property line, and light above a 90-degree horizontal plane. And it also talks about non-essential lighting having to be turned off after business hours. And then 41.2.2. That was 41.2.11. That talks about neighborhood. 41.2.2 talks about something harmonizing with the neighborhood. That actually.
So when somebody wants to put a flagpole up, they have to come and get a permit?
That's a good question. It's typically part of a site plan if they're just doing a flagpole.
Some homeowner wants to put a flagpole in the yard. Do they need to come in and get a permit for a flagpole?
If it's over a certain height, I guess I would run it by the building official, but.
How would they know? And then if they want to illuminate it, they have to have a maximum of 800.
That's an option.
That's.
That's only if it's it's preferred.
Preferred,
Like,
yeah.
right, but it doesn't have to be that way.
Okay.
We're just giving them an option on that. Now, if they're running electrical, say they're going top, bottom of lighting, and they're running electrical out, then I think they're gonna have to pull a permit for that, because you're running electricity and you need to get, the right permits for that. Any electrical, I believe you have to pull a permit for.
Why was 800 chosen?
That was based on Donna's experience, I believe. I don't know if she can speak to that, but.
And those, some of the numbers I found too, from
Okay.
top down, but we can have Donna if we want to.
But that would be on the permit also, that the light, how you gonna gauge that, other than the light specification? that
Right,
provided?
exactly.
Yeah. But this is,
Whatever
again,
they would
this is
state.
only, if, this is only an option. So if you do it from top to bottom, it doesn't apply.
This is top.
That's an option. It's preferred,
I prefer it, right?
but it's
So it
not,
could be
it
right.
does- but it doesn't have to be that way.
I'm a concrete thinker, so we said, so the fact that it says deviating, it implies bottom up?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just
yes,
a very
exactly.
concrete
Yeah.
person, so why can't I say that, but that's
Sure.
just splitting hairs, I guess.
Sure.
Can we talk a little bit about why we took out it shall not produce a nuisance?
I think it was repetitive because
It
it
is.
stated in
41.2.11.
Okay.
Yeah, and our two current regulations.
Okay, as long.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
And in looking at this, I don't know that we need for it to say comply with 41.2.2 because it says that at the beginning of
Okay.
the section.
Have, when, and maybe Donna could talk, but like, so if somebody were to light a flag from the bottom up at 800 lumens, would you be able to see the flag even with 800 lumens?
That's only top down. If you go,
Oh.
if you go in top, if you go in bottom top, you don't have to be. This is a,
Oh, this is for top down.
right, this is top down. So you would not, from bottom up, you would be able to,
Oh, I'm not on top,
There's-
sorry, my bad.
Right.
There's no,
Prefer
right.
it top down.
yeah, this is one, we're basically trying to get, if somebody wants to put a flagpole in, looks at the regulations, sees that, we prefer that, hopefully go that way. If not, they would go bottom up and follow the regulations of the other two regulations that are currently in.
Okay. Okay.
Right, so I mean, you can't shine that on somebody's house.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
so if you're going, bottom top, you can't shine at somebody's, you know, you start getting the nuisance thing.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
that's as
and
long as
that's already
that's-
covered in there, yep.
It's covered.
How many lighted flag poles do we have in town?
I don't know.
I mean, adding all these different things is, we're not gonna be able to enforce
Well,
it at
those-
night. We have no one on staff to enforce it at night,
Right.
you know, so who's gonna go out and police this?
Well, it's just, it's there in the regulation, and if somebody's gonna read it and wants to put a flagpole in, whether they come talk to somebody in town or just reading through it, you know, it gives them, if we get somebody to do it, we do by just putting a regulation in
Just
there.
putting a
It's better than not having it, let's
But
put
nobody's
that.
gonna monitor it though. At night.
Well, this was more for going forward, to be honest. It came about because someone was proposing to put a flagpole at Montgomery Village, and they were asking about lighting the
Mhm.
flag.
Well, there again, who's gonna enforce it at night?
I mean, just
Yeah.
like any other flag, if it's a nuisance, if it's not, if it's shining in somebody's yard
You're
or.
not answering the question, who's gonna enforce it?
So,
The
to
zoning,
answer,
the zoning enforcement officer, if
what we
somebody
typically
complains.
do
Doesn't work at
for,
If so, I mean, I'm not sure, so are you trying to say, you know, the regulation,
But they'll
It's
they'll
not
address it the
necessary?
next day.
I mean,
Doesn't, you don't have to address it at night because the light's on at night.
You have to monitor the lumens of it.
so to
Somebody
answer your
have to-
question, what we typically do, if there's a zoning violation at night, say it's a noise complaint, we will send the police out, but I think that it would be, quite honestly, a waste of their time to send the police officer to address a lighting issue. So they would probably take a picture, and then we would go look at the light bulb the next day, see what wattage it was, ask the homeowner or the property owner, and investigate from there.
I understand why they wanna do it, but it's just the enforcement of it. I know we
Yeah.
have a lot of
Yeah.
complaints about the noise, and all we know is the meter's not calibrated, nobody's certified to operate it properly, and.
well, let's stay away from the noise. We have the regulation
It's
here.
the same, no, it's the same thing.
But that's with any regulation here, it's, we have, if it's not in the regulation, then we can't enforce it. The enforcement is a different part of than what we do here. All we can do is put the regulation there, we have a zoning enforcement officer, we have the police department, all we can do is if there's a complaint, forward it to them. We're not the enforcement branch, what we can do is take a regulation, take a look at if it makes sense, If we're trying to make the town, or going forward, have, preferring a top-down instead of an uplit, we put in the regulation, somebody reads, as Carrie mentioned, somebody from Montgomery Village started inquiring, maybe others will inquire and look at this regulation. Whether it gets, whether it gets enforced, that's the zoning enforcement officer, the police, and the members of the community who's affecting. All we can do is put the regulations in there.
I think actually the whole thing.
We can. We
should.
can.
You should.
Well, that's with any regulation, in the enforcement of any regulation.
Yeah, it's like unenforced mandates, right? It's a good mandate, but there's nothing to back it up.
Well, this is where, it's showing somebody we prefer to have it top down,
Yeah, okay,
so.
all right.
Okay, so do you wanna go through, that was the only remaining point that we had to discuss regarding the zoning regulations.
And then the loop.
Right, so
Yep,
then moving
this
to
one's
the
good, yep.
subdivision regulations. So the subdivision regulations, there was still the question of, was there going to be kind of this magic number that would?
Well, let's not call it a magic number. It's not a magic number.
A number
It's been a
that would
discussed number.
trigger the requirement of a cistern. So,
So one of the things where we discussed at the last meeting is that originally we started with 3. I'll just go through a history really quick. The reason was 3 was because there was a subdivision on Tucket, I think that everybody's familiar with. There was talk about fire trucks going up in the road, it's too narrow, not only Tucket, but the drive into those 3 houses. So that's where it first started from. So when we first started this amendment, text amendment, it started at 3. We moved it up, I think maybe we discussed maybe 7, 10, we were looking at other towns where they landed. And some of the discussion we had at the last meeting was that it'd be what we could, the number of houses on a loop road, which I think was 13. 12?
yes.
12. 12, yeah. So if it was 12 or more, then this regulation would kick in. That's something we tossed around the number with, based on some of the other towns. Some of the other towns have it where what was it, like 5?
10, 5.
So we landed, discussed it as 12. 12 or more. Some of the comments that the public had were from some of the developers that if it was 3 or 5, it'd be an additional expense of thousands and thousands of dollars to those owners. We looked at the maps. We looked at some of the maps of the properties would affect, and I can't remember how many it was. It was like 7, 8, or potentially like 7 or 8.
In areas that don't have access to public water.
So that's where we kind of landed.
One of the thoughts I had was, why do we have to come up with a specific number right now that is supposed to satisfy a variety of scenarios moving forward? I feel like that's quite a feat.
If we don't put a number in there.
No, wait,
Yeah,
well,
okay.
here's my question.
Okay.
My question was why, again, just looking at all perspectives, why can't we have it read where, once subdivision gets triggered, we then, we'll look at where it's located, what needs to be done, get input from the fire chief, and then make a decision on the required number based on the application. Does that make life more difficult? Does that make does that make the process difficult? Does that make it easier?
It leaves it in question. So we had the
Okay.
fire chief come in and talk about, the reasons for it. And, but what we did is we took a look at the properties last week, or at last meeting, and those properties were outside the public water areas. So there's 7 or, like I said, I think 7, 8, or 9 of them. So you, looking at where those were, those would, I mean, this regulation would benefit that. Not only for those homeowners, but places in the surrounding,
Yeah,
you know, the
yeah, the same.
the
Now, how
homeowners
many,
disagree.
do we know
But-
how many lots they could be divided into, the maximum number of lots?
No.
But that's why that's why we're gonna say, those could be 12 lots or more, any one of those properties. Now, some of those are farms and, you know, are they gonna be developed? Yeah, who knows? But the maximum, I mean, the properties would be able to have 12 or more houses on those 7 or 8 properties. So, because of their location, that's, you know, that's when Bill was talking about making it 12 or more, because of like where the location was, and I mean, they're scattered throughout the town. So it would make it easier, I don't wanna say, it'd be
No,
more
yeah.
defined when somebody came in to subdivide, they know that they would have to put in a 10,000.
Versus hashing this out every.
Right, and then
okay,
bring the
okay.
fire chief in and, you know, and having a discussion and then
Okay.
having to make a, you know, a rule on it one way or the other.
Okay.
It's in the regulation, that's
Okay.
where it is. Now, if somebody wanted to go against that, they, you know, they can go and try to maybe get a variance or something like
Mhm,
that, but.
On those properties though, is there enough property to put a public road in versus a private road that meets the fire code standard?
We'd have to look at each individual.
Right, so I mean, you're saying
Lot.
there's X amount of properties that can be developed. If they put a private road in, they might be able to get more lots, but if they put a public road in, they might not get any less lots that would meet the criteria, right? And does that still require a cistern?
Yes,
Yeah.
it would be
If
this,
it-
it's the subdivision that would trigger it, not
Right.
whether it's a
Okay.
public or
Yep.
private road.
Right.
And there's a clause in it, so the long-term maintenance, including 25-year warranty, was that in something new?
That, yes.
I mean, who's gonna pay for long-term maintenance?
Well, long-term maintenance was originally in there, and then the 25-year warranty was just a suggestion of, you know, after a conversation in the plan,
But
in building department.
Is part of the putting it in include the long-term maintenance on being absorbed by the homeowners, potential homeowners? Is that by the builder going in and he puts a bond up, it covers the
25 years?
25, no, well, it says long-term maintenance including 25-year warranty, yeah, so what's that bond gonna cost and how does that impact the development of the property?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, there was discussion about how to protect the town from, you know, or not even the town, but how to ensure that it's maintained. Because given the
Yeah,
track
the other
record of
ones, yeah.
cisterns in town that aren't maintained, once they're installed, how do you guarantee that it's maintained?
How many houses have burned down in the town in the last 20 years?
There was one recently, right?
Burned down?
Well, not
Had a
completely
fire.
burnt down, but I mean, there was a fire. There's been, I mean,
I mean, there again, they're again trying to overregulate something that's on the safety issue, but it's adding too much regulation on properties.
I mean, the part we just added in there about the long-term maintenance, if we don't have a defined way to enact that, I don't know,
Mhm.
I don't think we should put that in. I mean, was that from fire chief by some?
No.
Or, okay.
Could've came because he said they had a failure of the other ones and
Mhm.
there was nobody maintaining them. just that
No,
it's
it was
tested.
actually in the original that we had. It said, "The plan shall also prescribe the area to be cleared for tank installation and long-term maintenance, including replacement of the tank as may be necessary." And that's where replacement of the tank as may be necessary, who would replace it?
Right.
That's why I took that out and instead had, you know, 25-year warranty.
But they're getting year 26, the tank fails, who has to pay to have it replaced? The town.
Right. And, I mean, we've been hashing this out for many meetings now, and that's why I'm kind of personally feeling like it needs more attention to like really hash out all these details if it is something that you wanna move forward with.
Yeah, I like to hash, I mean, on that one, I like to hash details out before.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but some of the comments from the last meeting, moving up to 12 made sense, number of properties, but like that part with the warranty, and like Dave's saying, I mean, do we, I mean.
I'm still struggling with why 12 made sense.
Because of loop,
The cost.
I mean, just kind of doing to the larger properties, because the smaller ones, it was a larger burden. If you had 3, it's gonna cost you 3 to 5,000 to 7,000.
No, I
Yeah,
agree
that-
with not
so
going
that's-
too
yeah.
small, but
But then go,
where's
because we're.
12 coming from
That's
versus?
from the loop road, 'cause so if somebody went to develop on those larger properties, it would be a loop road, which could,
Have a maximum
of 12, so that's where we said those properties would be the properties, one.
I just struggle with that because I don't think that's good data, just because it's a loop road. What if
No, but we
there's
started with
10
3.
houses
We
and-
did, we had the conversation, we started at 3.
Yeah, yeah.
5, then we were kind of talking about 10 or more, but then we went to the 12 because that's
But I think
a
to
larger,
come-
it's a
Correct.
larger subdivision.
But I
Right.
think this is being put in for public safety, I think to take a number just based on loop road versus taking into account the terrain or the topography or the access to water, or the time to water, that, more data needs to be put in the number versus just, 12, we have 12, there's loop roads for 12. You know what I mean, because someone could develop, I don't know the details of those lots, maybe we need to get more details on those
Well,
lots.
I mean, we can't, I mean,
One of
they're
those-
just lots, I mean, we don't have any, there's no development plans for any of those lots.
No, but like, what are is the minimum number of lots 12 on all of those? Like, or is there one that could be developed with 7 lots, but based on the topography and the data, it might need a cistern? You see what I'm saying, like, just more data versus coming from, 12 sounds good, 'cause it's a
Well, you
road.
can't have, you wouldn't be able to vary it, that's what I'm saying, if you're gonna go a minimum of 7, let's just say the number 7, it's 7 for all the lots, you can't vary it because of type, it's not about, you know, the topography of the lot, it'll be placed in an area that the fire department can get to for anything on that in that area or outside
I
that,
bet
so.
maybe it's topography, meaning like, cause the data I hear is we keep going back to this subdivision with 3 lots that
Right.
should've had a cistern.
Correct.
No, it goes on the hills.
Well, no,
Difficult to
it
get
should
to.
have one, but
Oh.
we talked about that, that's where the issue just came up with.
But 3 is very different than 12, so I'm just saying
Correct.
more data needs to be taken into account in determining a number than just, I feel,
I
12
don't know what
because
other
it's a
data
loop
we can
road.
give, cause fire marshal, I mean, he gave us,
He gave us what, 5, 3 or 5?
well, no, we talked 3 at the time, because that was up there.
He started with 3.
That's where we started,
Right.
with 3, that was our number.
Yeah.
In
His-
talking with him.
And the fire marshal is like, any is good. It's better than none, which we have, you know, we have some,
Something's always better
right.
than nothing.
Well, it was-
So that's, and we also wanted, so the numbers, keeping it low, yeah, there'd be more of them around, but also there'd be, some of the developers we're talking about, it'd be a larger burden on, right, so that's where we moved them up. And then we came up with the number of 12 the last meeting, based on, kind of like on a loop road, when you fully develop a property with 12 or more homes on it, that would be a place where there'd be space for one, 'cause it, you know, takes up X amount of space, instead of some of the smaller properties that would be subdivided 3 or 5, so. That's where
But
the
I
number
think-
came up with.
I think to Trish's point, if you have a road that's narrow and doesn't have good access to public water, and they're doing 12 homes but no loop road all in a row.
Right,
That wouldn't,
I wanna take the loop road, yeah.
or say
Yeah,
they're doing
yeah.
10, so.
I just think, cause the
It's-
data I hear, at least right now, using, again, this is on the fly right now, right? The data I hear you're using is, we don't want a lot of cost, and space. I'm not hearing a lot of data from a safety standpoint, which is the purpose of the regulation and.
Well, the safety was, we have we have the data from other towns.
Correct, and those
Right.
numbers are what, 5 and 7?
They vary.
Yeah, so that's what, it's like the data I'm hearing right
Yeah,
now is.
What data would you look for? I mean, we can get the data, we just need to know what it is. 'Cause
We have it,
we've
but
had
it's
the
wrong
fire
down.
chief here speak on the whole, so I'm not sure what other
Well,
data
that's
we
what I'm
get.
saying, look at the land, is it a narrow road, is it a wide road, is it?
But there's no, but we don't have, there's no, these aren't developed yet, so there's no road to actually talk about.
But-
Then you start, now you're
There are
talking about
people that
changing.
might know.
Well, no, we don't, because they're not
I
developed
don't
yet.
know.
No, but see, they're
Or
not
like
developed
that,
now.
or to
they're
get
not
to the
even
next
planned.
fire hydrant, I don't know how being a fire
I
person
think what
works,
she's
but.
saying is if the land is flat, it's more accessible versus an incline
Or
at
on a
30
hill, or if
degrees,
there's
which is
a-
the property of three was on a hill.
Right.
And the fire truck said, well, if I have to pull up and back out, it's difficult. So if it's a
Right.
flat road, you can back in and back out easy. So she's saying, should it be more defined by the topography versus the lot size? Right?
Yeah, like, again, the data I'm hearing right now is cost, and lot size and space to contain a cistern. I'm not hearing data from a fire chief, or I don't know.
Oh, no, he
well,
gave it to us, I mean.
But he said, but he had a lower number.
No, we had a lower number.
What number did he have, or he didn't give a number?
No.
He didn't give a number. He just
Right.
said if a house is fully engulfed, how much water the truck puts out on a certain size hose, and how long it takes to use up the tank, the water tank on the truck. You know, that's why I was asking how many houses are.
That's just my
sold.
argument. My arguments
Yeah,
are,
that's
like,
fine.
my personality and my training, everything's always gonna be, what data are we using?
Right.
The need, we're here for safety, but I'm not hearing a lot of those data points from safety coming into play in the decision for the number. What, again, maybe this needs to be like more thought, but that's
Yeah.
just that's where my perspective is right now.
Yeah, like, a road width that doesn't meet town standard or something.
Because people are always gonna make decisions to save money and save space and have most space. That's the given. Our job here is to temper that. So I don't know where we get that data, more info from fire people, more info from land developers, I don't know, but we need more of that data, I feel, before we come up with a hard and fast number. Or, like I said, do we not have a hard and fast number and have this discussion with each subdivision plan that comes before us? That way there is more context to the discussion. Or,
Right, it's gonna leave, that
is
leaves the
that
door
the
open.
point,
Yeah,
correct, or is
yeah, we don't
that
wanna-
not the
that's
point
what-
of having
Yeah.
a regular, I just.
We wanted to put
I'm
it in
not
there
sure.
so if somebody was developing, they know that was required.
Right, and there's some level of expectation and
Right.
some level of consistency, because I don't know
Right.
how we would have a checks and balances with the fire chief, or fire marshal, for that
Right.
matter, because they're the expert.
So that's why I still struggle with
Mhm.
the number, because the decision's being made based off of data that's not including safety. And if we have to define what the safety means, which, the type of land, the terrain, the access to
Well,
water,
then
how far
then you're
the water-
changing the subdivision, now you're talking about changing the subdivision regulations totally. No, I'm just saying that's, yeah, no, right.
I don't know
The
if we
reason,
match
the
the
reason for this
total
is
of the two,
because of the areas of lack of water.
Correct,
Okay,
it's for
so
safety, but I'm not
it's-
hearing
no,
that
it's
data being
for,
used.
it's more for, not just for that development, it's for surrounding area as well. So it's,
Correct.
you're right, so it's,
Yeah, anybody in that area can use the cistern.
The fire department.
right.
But again, the purpose of the cistern is safety.
It's just an added that if it costs $25,000 to put it in or whatever, if you divided them on 12, it was a lower amount than over.
Comprehend that, I
Yeah.
comprehend.
But in the last
math.
meeting, I mean, we were clear that we wanted to move the number up because. right,
Exactly, but I don't
But-
wanna just go up to a number because.
Well, that was the number we kind of landed on, so I'm just surprised at the discussion we're having, that's what I'm saying.
I know, I never talked, we never did really discuss, we never solidified, and
Okay.
the number, last time we threw, it was still open for discussion, threw it out there, we never hard and fast said 12. So I'm still
Alright,
struggling
we'll
with it, that
we'll
data's
just
not
table
equal
this
to.
then, and then we'll have to, I think we'll have to have another conversation with the fire chief.
Do you want to table it, or do you want to deny the application for the subdivision right now, and then focus on the text amendment for the zoning regulations, and we can
We have to-
reapply for the
'cause they're both
subdivision
in the same
regulations,
application.
and,
But we can't separate it
Yeah,
out?
then why is it under the same application?
Is that right, they're both under the same
Yes.
application?
Yeah, it is.
That's why.
Yep.
but I have two separate motions.
I don't think you should.
Is there a public hearing?
Oh, yeah, we'll have time, yep. Yep.
So which development is this? Is this the one with 3 houses or another one? I don't know, I'm trying to find out. It said, is it joint proposal?
They were both on the same app.
Yes.
Well, let's open it to public and then we can have that discussion.
Okay.
All right. The public hearing for all the text amendments are still open, so if you have anything to say?
Yeah, I'm not, Carrie, do you have to withdraw the entire application? Because it went forward as one application. I
Right,
don't
no.
think you can move them forward separately, right? You'd have to,
Right, so I think that the part about the subdivision regulation could be denied and then accept the
don't-
zoning regulation.
but it's all one application though.
But
They're not
it's just
separate
like making
applications.
changes to any other text amendment where you take some parts
I
and
know.
then,
Just a point of clarification. All right. Hey, I just had on the Dom Delvecchio, 847 Forest Road, Northford, just a point of clarification that I'm seeking this evening on the zoning amendments that you're proposing. This is a section of the current regulations. And 62.1 indicates that the zoning enforcement officer shall have the responsibility and authority to enforce the provisions of these regulations. So your zoning enforcement officer, and here he's going to recite these regulations this evening, has the ability to enforce every regulation in this packet here. And we could go on. I mean, there's probably thousands of regulations within this packet here, the zoning regulations down in North Branford. Section 62.7 of the existing regulations indicates that no zoning permit or certificate of zoning compliance can be issued by the zoning enforcement officer unless it's demonstrated that you're in compliance with these regulations, okay? And I forget how many pages in here, but you can see it's like a telephone book. And so the point of clarification, the purpose, I'm trying to understand the purpose behind the zoning text amendments, number 4 and number 6. Because I think that the regulations clearly cover the proposed amendment number 4 and number 6. So I'm just curious as to why you're seeking proposed amendments 4 and 6, when I think it's clearly covered here. And I think, yes, I'm just trying to understand the purpose of amendments 4 and 6, and I was hoping someone on the board could clarify that
What's
for me.
6.27 read?
what's that?
You said 6.27?
62.7 clearly states that, well, first off, 62.1 clearly gives your zoning enforcement
Right.
officer the right to enforce every regulation that you have here. 62.7 indicates that no zoning permit or certificate of zoning compliance can be issued by the zoning enforcement officer unless it's demonstrated that you're in compliance with these regulations. So I'm curious to see why you need amendments 4 and 6, and I'm sure that you guys have a reason for it. I'm just trying to understand it. It says, the proposed amendment 462.2.6, no zoning permit shall be issued if it is determined that a violation of these regulations or the North Branford subdivision regulations, wetland regulations, or, in violation of those. And number 6, amendment number 6, same thing, no certificate of zoning compliance shall be issued when it is determined that a violation of these regulations. And it's clearly already, in my opinion anyway, supported by your existing regulations. So I'm just curious as to why you're seeking those amendments 4 and 6 when he clearly has the authority to enforce every single regulation that you have. And he certainly has the right to deny any zoning permit, any certificate of zoning compliance, based upon, if he determines, in his opinion, that you have not demonstrated compliance with these regulations, he can deny the regulation. That's his authority, that's his mandate pursuant to 62.1. So why the need for amendments 4 and 6? You guys put them forward.
Yeah, no, I know.
So I'm just trying to, point of clarification, understand why.
What do you mean 4 and 6?
Okay, amendments number 4.
Oh,
and
meaning
amendment
issue
number
number
6.
4?
Issue, yep.
Yeah.
Oh, issues is a very different word than amendment. So do you want to talk about like the history and the thought behind putting in that
Yeah,
amendment?
so I think both of those were for clarification, just to, again, strengthen that the applicants have to demonstrate compliance, and that if there's no compliance, that, zoning permit shall not be issued,
But
if
you-
there's any violation.
Do you think the existing regulation 62.7 is unclear in that respect?
Yes.
You think it's unclear? When it clearly states that no zoning permit or certificate of zoning compliance can be issued unless it's demonstrated that you're in compliance with these
I mean, we're
regulations?
talking semantics, though. It was brought to us And we talked about, just for clarification, that's all it is. It's not changing, it has.
It features-
Are you
I'm-
against the?
No, I just think it's not necessary. I guess that's my
All
point.
it's doing is just reinforcing it.
What-
So that's, clarify into reinforcement, somebody reading the regulations, don't have to maybe bounce back and forth, it's right there, it's clearly stated.
I think it's clearly stated in
It
62.7.
is, so, we're reinforcing it, so, we can discuss this for the next hour if you want, but, it's not, it's just a
Okay.
reinforcement of it, it's just to clarify
All right.
what the regulation
Well,
was.
and here's my understanding of
expand
it.
on it, too.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, is there are laws, there are rules, people break them. I think it's to guard against those people that do not follow the regulations and might do something on their own, that if they say, oh, well, this is bigger and more obvious, I need to go for a permit, it's to guard against that and to make sure they're always following, because people do break the regulations.
Because he has the
So it's to
zoning
guard
enforcement-
against that, because didn't we have a
Yeah.
situation where somebody came and applied and
After
they
the
went
fact.
out
Yeah.
and they had violations of these regs?
Exactly, so.
So that's where it
and
came
It's
from.
not clear in the state statute that if someone has a violation on their property, that they're prohibited from moving forward with another application. So an example is, someone's in violation of the zoning regulations, because their shed is not in compliance with setbacks. Then they submit a zoning application for a pool, an in-ground pool. They're two separate issues. So under case law, I don't think that there's anything that says that you can look at the entire property
So-
and prevent them from moving forward. What we're saying here is that we want people to be in compliance with our regulations on their entire property before they start submitting second or third or fourth applications to the building and zoning department.
So what you're saying it's necessary to prevent a proposed application from moving forward if the zoning enforcement officer determines that there's a current violation that's been brought to his attention,
Correct.
and that's the reason.
Or outstanding violation.
And this also adds in the North Branford inland wetlands and watercourse regulations, which probably the other one doesn't.
Well, that's in another section where they certainly has the ability to enforce the inland local wetlands
No, but it's also in this
regulations.
amendment as
Right,
well.
right.
Both of them, 6.2.
Yeah.
But,
0.6 and 0.7.
all right, because, he certainly has broad discretion to enforce every single one of these regulations in this packet.
But people
And,
don't always listen to that enforcement.
Right, right. Now, my bigger concern is that someone, a neighbor that is opposed to an application, can raise a very minor concern and prevent an application moving forward.
Well, if it's not in
based
compliance,
upon-
yeah.
And that's a problem.
If it's not in
Well,
compliance-
but
Because you're not in compliance,
but
if it's
it
minor.
could be a
Break it
very
on
minor,
record.
a very
Well,
minor
then,
issue.
If it's minor, then we
And
fix the
that,
minor issue, then we move
Right, and he
forward.
has the
Yeah.
authority to address that, that's my point. He
And
has the
then
authority to address it, and I
It
don't.
also helps
yeah.
with the process of why we have these bodies in place. There's a zoning board of appeals for that, so that person would
Right,
then need to
right.
do what they need to do.
All right.
Now,
All
if
right.
there's a violation that somebody sees and they call the zoning enforcement office before this is enacted, yes, he has the power and discretion to have that minor.
Yeah. I just
Change.
believe he has the authority currently, but if you guys, you must think differently, and that's,
Well, just give.
There is no
Yeah.
different thinking. We know,
Yeah.
I'm just confused as to what your purpose in the
no,
clarification.
the four and six, I'm just not sure why it's necessary, the purpose behind it, because I think the zoning enforcement officer clearly already has the authority, so why?
But
there
we just
needs to be-
explained it, our
Yeah,
explanation
what
didn't
you're,
help?
what you're saying, what you're
Or-
suggesting now is that you could use that to deny a proposed application if there's any violation.
No, I don't know, I don't think it's saying deny, it says it will
Well,
not be moved forward.
you would have, you
Exactly.
couldn't
Until
move
you-
forward
until you-
unless that
Right.
violation is corrected,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Would anybody else like to speak? Donna, can you, speak on the 100 lumens for the downlighting?
Donna Bursley, Marjorie Drive. The number was, I contacted the International Dark Skies Association, and they're the ones that write, I wouldn't say they write rules, but have suggestions for dark skies for the country. And I asked them what kind of lumen recommendations they would have for flagpole lighting, from uplighting or downlighting, and that's the number that he gave me. So, and
So what was your
I'm lighting
what was
a
your
flag-
specific question? That
My,
got that
my,
answered.
my specific question was lighting a flagpole from the top down. How many lumens should we limit it to?
Okay.
And also, if you were trying to light from the bottom up, what kind of lumens should we limit that to? which is enough to light the flag, so you can
Okay.
tell that it's an American flag, which is what the respect for the American flag lighting at night.
Okay, so it was a good specific question.
Yeah,
that-
because what,
okay.
with the lighting of the American flag, you need to light it with respect. You need to, Foreign Legion says that we need to be able to tell it's an American flag. You should be able to see the stars and stripes. But it shouldn't be overlit where there's more focus on the light than on the flag.
Okay.
You want the flag to be your focal point.
Okay.
So, and that's the International Dark Skies, and I think they're in Vermont, something like that is where they're based out of.
Thank you, that's helpful.
Anybody else like to speak on these regulations or text amendments? So I think we should close the public hearing. We've had this public hearing open for a while. There's no more comments, so if someone wants to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do I need the numbers?
No, you just need to make a motion.
Oh, I make a motion to close the public hearing on application 2016-15. Yep.
Is there a second, Bill?
Second.
Dave. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Just to let you know, any 2-to-1 votes, it's a failure. Because there's only 3 of us, so if there's a vote 2-to-1, it's a deny, it's a no vote. Not a no vote, it's a deny.
It's a,
Okay. Yeah.
motions fails.
Yeah, motion fails, exactly. All right. So, next order of business would be, hang on a second. So the next order of business is another public hearing of PC application 2017-5. Give the legal notice. Legal notice.
Legal notice, North Branford Planning and Zoning Commission, notice hereby given that the North Branford Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing at 7 p.m. on Thursday, June 1st, 2017, in North Branford Town Hall, 909 Foxton Road, North Branford, Connecticut, to consider the following application, 2017-5, special use permit request to allow a full-service food and beverage establishment with indoor and outdoor seating at 27 Branford Road, applicant Alfred Rose.
Seated for this public hearings are members Mace, Halgren, and Dulac. And
I can distribute site plans.
It's the
Oh,
same.
you
thing,
have them. Yep,
Oh.
sorry. So, I'll just run.
you wanna run through it, or?
So this is, I have a street shot, just of the existing building. Do you have the green cards? The return receipt?
We have them, but didn't bring them.
Okay, that's fine. So this is a proposal to add on to the existing building at Rose's Orchard.
That's existing?
There was a special use permit that was granted previously for the service of of ice cream, so it's a restaurant use. They're proposing a slight change by adding a grill. And also you'll see highlighted in red there, changing their hours. Instead of seasonal, it would be a year-round operation. Here, I'm gonna pass out also proposed floor plan. Also proposes additional seating indoors.
Dave?
So the plans that you have in front of you. Do you wanna run through some of it?
Al Rose from 40 Valley Road, and this is my nephew.
Tyler Rose, 27 Branford Road.
So, the drawings are a work in progress. The only thing we've settled on is the footprint. We won't be looking to get a permit, we're, you know, it's too late in the season, so we'd be starting after Halloween for actually building something, but we are looking to run the, the grill and the deli type thing, as soon as possible.
So the question I have is, you have a couple things, there's a couple things outlined on the plans?
Yep.
Okay, so this one here that's outlined is gonna be added on to the existing building, correct?
That is existing.
No, the existing's to the right. What's it in red here?
No, that's the addition.
That's the addition, and then this
Right,
is,
so 139 here, that's where a pavilion would go.
Okay.
So the pavilion, I gave Carrie the size.
okay.
The greenhouse in this photograph is the middle building, right? The greenhouse?
Yes, so on this photo here,
Yeah.
the addition will run from here and actually have access for us to this warehouse here.
You
Okay.
set the standard pretty high when you brought in that drawing for the winery, so.
Yeah, right.
That's what my
So basically, we'll
expectations
take the
back.
greenhouse out and connect the two buildings,
Can't read these.
Okay.
right? So basically, take the greenhouse out, connect the two buildings.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, the greenhouse is gonna go, it's
So
a little bit
it's
wide.
it's all within the same footprint, basically, right?
It's
Slightly
bigger than
bigger.
the, it's in front of that other building, but it is larger than the existing greenhouse.
So the building in the back right, on the back right side, that's gonna be the pavilion? That's gonna be open, from April to December, is,
The one in the back,
yep.
yeah,
And then the addition would be year-round?
yes.
Okay, all right,
I
because everything's
think-
already.
I think this plan was originally for the, what's currently being used as retail space, right? And the
For what?
creamery,
Yeah.
the retail and the
Yeah.
creamery. So I think that's where the proposed seasonal use will run from April through December was for
That,
the creamery.
okay,
But now it's going to be year-round.
okay.
And the pavilion would be for,
Just in the summer, basically it's
Oh,
just
okay.
for shade.
okay.
I got you.
Shade and seating.
Yeah.
Okay. And the dimensions are
That's bad.
30 by 60
Yep.
for the pavilion. And then also, you had mentioned bathrooms
Yep.
will
They're
be
gonna
in the
Right, yeah,
addition.
yeah, yeah.
addition.
Yep.
Okay.
So in that photograph, this looks like it's up here. but it's
Yeah.
not.
Here, do you want to see this?
Yeah,
we're
that, I
seeing it.
need those.
We're looking at that, and it looks like the other building is up front, but it's actually
Yeah.
behind. So the green building is set back behind the building.
Yep.
I wanna add. So basically, the addition, you take the far wall of the green building and bring it up.
Carrie, what'd you mean by
Face
that?
it off
Yeah.
with the,
Yeah, we're kinda coming in the middle of that
This,
green building.
here.
and
Here?
coming up.
No. That's-
The original plan, the one that I handed in there a couple days ago, we downsized that.
okay, actually, I see a line farther back,
Yep.
all right.
Yep.
Proposed.
And then this, the future pavilion over here is the outside seating you were mentioning, right?
Yeah,
Like
like
that.
Behind the
Yep,
water
yep.
Right, behind the water wheel, so, right, so
This
on the new
Yeah, I
one,
get it with
we
that.
cut this down.
Except for
coming
this
down,
as well,
so it's
because-
gonna-
Right, and no
Okay.
dormers, so it's kind of a hybrid of
Right,
these
but it's
two.
a little
too big.
Just
So what
no.
would be the issue?
Yeah, it
with
will look
that,
too
though?
like monstrous from
I just didn't know which
Okay.
one. I didn't know what it was.
Well,
Is the winery moving forward though too? I didn't get all the work. right?
Here, we're next.
Okay, that's next, okay.
Because the rest of all this would be on site.
You guys have the-
Yes,
Yeah.
well,
This goes from
well,
here.
no, because this is, well, it would be with a building permit.
Right.
So,
And then Carrie did tell me that if we built that building that size, we have like 40 parking spots. So she said we need like 7.5 more. Which, it may have been there in the fall, we parked 500 cars in the field. So when we come in for a building permit, we can, on the site plan that we hand in with that, we'll have the other additional
ones?
parking spots that she needs.
are you adding any additional lighting?
Not outside at this time.
Okay.
So
The
you-
parking lot had all those lights already, and that, we're not looking to change that.
So the only lighting would be on the building?
Yeah.
Right.
Carrie, some of these questions that you had in your notes, those were answered?
Right, so I was just going over this with Harry. So the original submittal had 2 different elevations, but as Al just mentioned, they'll finalize the elevation, the siding of the building. You know, it's not within a design district, so it really doesn't matter anyway. But that will be submitted at the time of, you know, the building permit with that finalized plan.
Hours of operations gonna change?
Nope.
And what are they currently?
9 to 6 for the farm market and 9 to 9 for the ice cream.
And I do have referrals from other department heads, if you want me to go through those.
Sure.
So East Shore submitted a comment. They said that East Shore District Health Department has reviewed the proposal to expand a food service establishment. We recommend approval with the condition that the applicant/owner submit a food service plan review application and approval prior to any building permits being issued. The fire marshal said a preliminary review is conducted by this office in accordance with NFPA, CGS, and Connecticut State Fire Safety and Fire Prevention Code. At this present time, this office has no fire safety issues, and the occupant must follow all pertinent codes, and full review will be conducted at the building permit application process. The town engineer said that the proposed use may require the installation of a grease trap on the sanitary sewer discharge in accordance with Connecticut DEP, fats, oils, and grease permit requirements. This will be addressed at the time of issuance of a building permit for the facility. And the zoning officer said parking and traffic flow is good, sight line for traffic is not an issue, a very good use of the property and an asset to the town. And the building official said construction documents must show compliance with the Connecticut Building Code in effect at the time of the application. And the police department said they reviewed the accompanying documents, and I feel that if this project were completed in accordance with the documents that have been provided for my review, there are no objections by the department.
Now, this will not require a site plan.
Right, that's correct.
So this is our opportunity to take a look at different options that he's put out there, make any comments on it, but it just would be a building permit, we wouldn't see it again. When we look at the drawings, there's a couple different elevations, do you have an idea of which one you're gonna go with? Is there a reason for one versus the other?
Between the 2 of them.
Okay.
So,
The one with the
so
two
we're not
dormers?
gonna match that.
Okay.
So it's gonna be like this, but I don't believe it's gonna be dormers at any second floor. So it'll be this look, but these dormers will be gone.
Okay, all right,
That's what's in right now, right there, right?
Right.
Just-
yep.
And it continues, the porch that's on here continues that around, and it goes around the building.
So it's just gonna be one floor, right?
Just one
Okay,
floor.
okay.
So we sent my brother home to get the green cards.
Okay.
There's only, like 70 of them.
Okay. All right.
Will you be changing the sign at all?
We probably really, we're gonna, that sign needs help. We had a really nice sign that, over the last 20 years, so
Any other questions?
we're in the process of designing one, and
Okay.
we'll be coming into a new sign or something.
I think with that's enough. At this time, I was just gonna open up for if anybody would like to speak on this on this application, just state your name and address and your comment, please.
Hi, Anthony Risch, 54 Branford Road. My driveway is right across from Rose Orchard driveway, and traffic is a problem. It's screeching tires and honking horns from the time they open, especially in the summertime. Ice cream traffic right in front of my driveway. People stop, people don't want to wait. They hit my mailbox going by, trying to get around. Honking horns, yelling, screaming. It's rough in the summertime when the traffic is tight. So adding more traffic to that is definitely a big concern. I have 4 kids, and we're always in and out of the driveway. It's impossible for me to get out of my driveway when the traffic is heavy. People don't stop, they don't let you out. I'm sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. So I would really like to suggest that if we're going to add anything like a grill, that they move their driveway to another access point, because it doesn't work now, and I don't think it'll work as they expand. That's my comment. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak? Any other comments you like to add?
I just had a question.
Go ahead.
One thing that,
Okay.
Good evening, Bob Custola, licensed engineer and land surveyor, and I've done most of the work for the Roses. Matter of fact, we went to school together, and I'm lucky enough to know Al forever. Traffic on Route 139 and all the major roads that we have around here, obviously, even Foxen Road, is an issue. And Al's traffic is background traffic. It's not the majority of the issues that that gentleman, that I don't doubt, has. Even the state of Connecticut has made an attempt to improve that intersection. I think as a phase 1, there looks to me like there's more that needs to be done. But clearly, in working with the family over the years, sightline is not a problem. That if we had people that drove with speed limits that are posted, there wouldn't be a problem. So my opinion and my experience as an engineer, that his curb cut and this minor increase in activity at this site will not adversely affect the public health, safety, and welfare.
I just had a quick question.
Sure.
So with the proposed addition, like people are gonna be parking and walking all along here?
They do now, we're not changing the parking lot.
My only question is like like the gutters, I can't stand when, people put on an addition, or whether it's a house or a business, and like the gutter and where the water lets out, like people are constantly trafficking through puddles. So
Yeah,
that's my
we,
question, that'll be cognizant of.
Our whole building is, on grade and completely accessible, and, any gutters are piped.
Okay.
Anybody else like to speak? Seeing there's no more comments, I think we can close this public hearing, because the only thing we have is the green cards, which are on their way back. And that's okay. We won't act
Proof
until
that
we
the
can.
mailing went out to the
Oh.
neighbors.
Right, so we wouldn't be able to act until they come in, but we can close the public hearing.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Because there's no more comments, I don't think we had any. So if somebody would like to make a motion, that's cool. Just do them all, he'll second.
I make a motion to close the public hearing on application 2017-5.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
So the public hearing is closed. Thank you. All right, moving right along to application another public hearing, 2017-6. Okay, that's that. Oh, do we have a,
The legal notice, did you already read that?
oh, they're both together?
They were printed the same day, so they're usually on the same.
Yeah, you read, did you read both of them?
No.
Okay, read the second one, yep.
Oh, yeah, B.
Yep, we just did the first one.
Legal notice, North Branford Planning and Zoning Commission hereby give notice that the North Branford Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing 7 p.m. on Thursday, June 1st, 2017, North Branford Town Hall, 909 Foxton Road, North Branford, Connecticut, to consider the following. Application 2017-6, petition to amend the North Branford Regulations, Section 42.5.12, farm and winery use to allow for farm or winery use in business and industrial zones with a special use permit, to allow incidental service and sale of beer and spirits, to establish a minimum building setback of 50 feet in the industrial and business zones, and to allow for a submittal of a site plan meeting requirements of section 42.2, applicant Curcio Engineering LLC, care of Robert Curcio. The hearing is that all interested persons may appear and be heard in written communication with, be received, copy of proposal are on file, public inspection, Town Hall Planning Department.
Okay, good evening. For the record, my name is Bob Criscolo, Criscolo Engineering, and I have, as part of this application, I was required to notify by return receipt requested mailing the adjoining town, which was the town of Branford, and I'd like to submit a May 8th letter that was sent to town planner Harry Smith for the record. And on the second sheet is the green card. Okay, so this is a proposed amendment to your existing regulation 42.5.12 farm winery use. And I submitted a document that's several pages, and if you turn to the last sheet, which is the Schedule A table, page 1 of 8, I am proposing to change B1 through B3, I1 through I3 from X to U, from not allowed to being a special use permit that would be entertained and prepared and applied before this commission. So that is in keeping with the R80 and the R40 special use requirement on your table. So that's the major change in the table itself. And to go through the regulation changes, the current regulations only allow the R80 and R40. I've added a couple of little changes to your proposal as written, and I'd like to go through them. And on page number 1 that I've submitted, and it should show up in red. Carrie, I don't know if that is the case.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yes. Okay, so you can see that item number 2F allows for the incidental service and sale of beer and spirits as part of a farm winery. Item number 3, C, and D, I have shown to be crossed out. And I did that because I wanted to strengthen the requirements for submittals. And 3C and 3D are changed by section number 4. And I believe that that is on the 3rd page of your document, in red, the last part of it. And what I've done is I thought that the application included preliminary plans and more sketches that wouldn't allow you to address and look at the public health, safety, and welfare issues on an application like this, and would strengthen it even in the R zones. And you can see that my item number 4 is requiring, as part of the submittal in the application for a special use permit, very detailed plans. They are to be based on an A2, T2 topography survey. A2 is a boundary survey, which is the standard, rather than taking it from maps of others. Site plan that will show all building, address streets, driveways, parking, curb cuts, wastewater disposal, water supply. You'll get a full set of landscaping plans. You'll get, in addition, I note that in your current regulations, 41.2 and 62.5, which are well-written site plan additional requirements, I've added that to this section to give what you're going to get more detailed plans. You're also going to get erosion control plans, and you're going to get any or all requirements that you deem necessary that come out of the public hearing process, which is a presentation and obviously a comment, not only by your staff, your land use staff, but also by this commission. So I think by deleting 3C and 3D and adding section 4, you're going to get a better submittal before you, which will allow you to further and to comprehend and approve farm winery use on any one given site with a more detailed plan. Other minor changes are number F1, which would allow for this use to adhere to what is typically done in the business and industrial uses for building setbacks from 50 to 100 feet. And I talk about that in also section number 2, where it says of 50 feet for business and industrial zones and a minimum setback of 100 feet for residential zones. So I'm respecting the residential setbacks for buildings, and then also at the same time respecting the business and the industrial zone setbacks. So kind of in summing it up, it is, in my opinion, it is strengthening the application. As a engineer and land surveyor, when I apply for this type of use in any zone now, you're going to get a very detailed plan. You're going to get a plan just like you'd get in a commercial small lot or a 2-acre lot, everything that you're used to seeing from parking to drainage and building layouts. It allows the farm wineries, in summary, in the B and the I zones, business and industrial zones. It also proposes to change the setbacks from 100 to 50 feet in the business and the industrial zones, which is consistent with the current regulations that overlay those zones. And the other minor addition is because when you have this type of use, you have a small amount of requests that would include the sale of beer and spirits. So I kept the body of it. I made the application to be more detailed, which would give you a better overall understanding of what is being proposed rather than having preliminary plans. So with that, I'd like to open it to questions that you may have.
What does the incidental service and sale mean? Incidental.
It's not primary. The primary focus is to have a winery on a farm that would allow to have the tasting. But in recognizing that there are people that don't drink wine, that in working with staff, it thought to have that in there, but clearly that would not be the majority or the focus of the farm winery.
Then also under section 2.D, it goes from farm winery cafe. So now food is being added now, right? Under the cafe license, or cafe
Yes,
requirements?
yes, but that's not a major component either. It's just a very, very minor component, and I think it makes sense. For instance, microbreweries are the thing right now. And I have been very involved in the one in Branford, which is a Stony Creek Brewery. And the owner did envision in the beginning that food would be required, and that's why you see the food trucks there. It actually is a nice way to amend the proposal, if I may say it that way.
The limitation of food also reduces other requirements though too, so when you add the food, it adds additional requirements.
Agreed, 100%.
And then it says sale of food to members of public seated indoors and on the patio or adjoining building. And it says that during special events, it should occur solely in the indoor or outdoor seating areas only. So if this goes forward and it's built and they have an event and they bring a big tent, they can't serve food in it or wine in the tent.
That is true.
Okay.
It's a very good comment.
So, David, are you just differentiating between a farm winery cafe versus a restaurant? Because both
Well-
this and a restaurant require a special use permit.
Right, well, the cafe expands on the winery,
Oh, yes.
so that's all. And then, you know, it's all gonna have to fall under its own requirements, just that it's went from being a winery to a cafe now, which adds other stuff, right?
Right, but there's
But that's
no-
always been in there, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, anything in black has been in there.
Correct.
Okay, I just didn't see the cafe before.
All the red is the proposals that I'm trying to bring forward.
So now you're adding, the beer and spirits was added?
That is correct.
On top of the wine?
That is correct. And that would be spelled out what that really means by application.
Okay.
Do you mind if I pass down some just discussion points?
Yeah, you've had a chance to like look this over and
Yes.
digest it? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, good, before.
And this memo just goes through everything that Bob mentioned. The zoning officer made an interesting comment looking at, so here I just talk about, you know, what you're asking to do, the incidental service and sale of beer and spirits, the setback, which makes sense. So this regulation started with Rosa Bianca Vineyard, which is in a residential zone, which is why it just focused on residential. I don't think at the time they were thinking about allowing wineries in an industrial or business zone, but they could exist in any zone, which is why there's the differentiation. When you look at the regulations, though, in section, let's see, talks about the building coverage of the principal winery use. This is in the same section with the setbacks. Our zoning officer made a comment about this, so I thought it was just good to discuss. So it talks about the principal winery use shall be no more than 5% of the lot area. And he thought that was pretty low. But when you look at the requirement for a winery, it has to be a minimum of 10 acres. So when you break that down, 5% of 10 acres is a half of an acre, or over 21,000 square feet. So just in keeping with the zoning of that area and the use, I don't think that you'd want the building coverage to be much more than that. But because we're looking at it, I just wanted, and he commented on it, I just wanted to raise it. And then similarly, for the winery accessory uses, it says in the regulation, and I'm not suggesting to change it, but it does say, shall be no more than 2% of the lot area. So again, if you look at that for, I don't know what a winery accessory use would be, maybe a tent for a specific event, or maybe it could be residential that exists on the
Yeah.
property. Storage, maybe?
Good point, there is a component of storage and barns and facilities that is required to make wine on site.
But again, with a 10-acre parcel, you have 0.2 of an acre, or over 8,700 square feet. And then looking at Rose's Orchard, that's 45.12 acres. So for the winery use, you could have 2.25 acres for the principal winery use, and then 0.9 acres for accessory. So
Oh, is
I
that,
don't think that the percentages are low, is my point in breaking all that
well,
down.
the 45 acres, is that the whole property?
Yes,
But he already has coverage on it with the other buildings.
right.
So if you add up all the buildings he has on the
But that would be
property-
based on the zone. It gets very confusing. So the coverage limitation would be based on the underlying zone, which is industrial. Now we're overlaying, so they would still be capped at whatever the maximum coverage is for industrial.
Right, and so the uses that are there that are related to farming would pertain to the I coverage, which I think is 35%.
Yes.
And this says that for the winery-related uses, it's 2%. So it's still maintained as a farm. This is really kind of an accessory use.
You're saying, because she was concerned that the winery would be 2.2 acres and going, well.
Oh, no.
If you add up all the buildings on the property, it's what's under that, right?
Yes.
So you're saying that this 2.2 acres isn't just a winery, it would be all the buildings on the property?
No,
No,
two
just
point
the
two
winery.
is for the winery usage.
Yeah.
It's 30% for all buildings.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is
35.
30% in an I two zone.
But now, is this winery application overlaying the farm on the same property? So do you have multiple uses on the same property?
Yes. Farming is allowed in any zone.
But you're saying the farming has its own development plan, then the winery has another development plan, the farm market has another development plan. All combined, they all,
Meet setbacks, yes.
I mean,
So the-
coverage.
So the 45.12 acres includes everything that exists there currently?
Yes. Right, so, and we would look at coverage for all those buildings for that entire parcel.
Right, and they said they're way under the
Which, you
2.2.
know, 30% would be.
But you were concerned with the 2.2 coverage?
No, the zoning
Zoning
officer
enforcers
made a
are-
comment saying that it seemed low. The percentage, the 5% and the 2% seemed low, that it should be
More?
increased. But I don't think that it should be,
No.
given that the minimum lot size
Do you
for a
want more?
winery use is 10 acres.
Yep.
I think
I don't think that he realized
most
that.
wineries.
Yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
that he realized the minimum lot
And
size
the building
is
size
10
is
acres.
somewhere
Yeah,
between
versus
Yeah.
an acre.
6,000 square feet and
Right.
maybe 7,500 square feet for plan area. So they're relatively compact, small buildings,
Mhm.
rather than big sprawling buildings. So I would envision, as part of the site development plan that I've put in section number 4, is we would address all the standards for the I zone in the entirety, and then break out a section as it pertains to the winery, to make sure we're not exceeding these thresholds.
I have, so I referred this to the Regional Council of Governments, and it will be reviewed during the June 8th meeting. We also sent it to the town council, because any text amendment goes to the town council. I haven't heard anything back from them. And then the zoning officer just commented that F1 and 2 seem overly restrictive. He suggested doubling the percent in each case, but I went over that.
Yeah. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll open it up. Would anybody like to speak on this application in the public hearing? Yeah, please.
Tom Delvecchio, 847 Forest Drive. I'm certainly in support of the application. I just, points of clarification for Bob, because it's the first I've heard of this. Is the current?
Oh, you got, just
Okay,
address,
okay.
just, yeah. please.
I'm not sure you're gonna be able to answer it here, that's why.
Yeah, we'll get him the answer. I mean, we just gotta,
But the
you know.
current minimum setback requirement for buildings used in the winery, 42.5.12, is it 100 feet, or is it?
Yes.
Because I notice you're
Yes.
trying to reduce it to 50, is that
Yes.
right?
In
For the winery
industrial
use,
and
is that
business
right?
zones.
I'm sorry.
The proposal is to change it to 50 feet for industrial and business zones.
Not changing
Not
the-
change the
the-
100-foot setback in residential, which is what it is now.
Okay, but what is it currently in, because you're
In the
adding
indus-
this to the business industrial, the winery use and the business industrial, now you're trying to establish a minimum setback.
Current standard
And
reads.
currently, it's just residential zone, 100 feet. So now that you're including this winery provision in the industrial business, you're gonna set a minimum setback for 50. Is that right? Because currently one doesn't exist for
Correct.
winery use in a business
Exactly.
and industrial zone.
A
is that
setback
right?
does not exist in
Right.
business and industrial because it's not allowed currently.
All right, and the only other thing this would require, I believe that the 42.5.12 is it currently restricted just to the sale of wine, or no? Not that I'm opposed to the spirits, but I'm just
If you,
curious.
if you were gonna sell something other than wine,
I'm just reading the current regulations, I'm just wondering.
It speaks to grappa. Let's see, so it says, definition, any place or premises compromising a minimum of 10 acres on which fruit is grown and wine products, limited to wine and brandies distilled from grape products and other fruit products, including grappa and eau de vie, are manufactured, stored, and sold, meeting the permit requirements of Connecticut general statutes.
Okay. So is there a need then for the incidental sale of beer?
Yeah.
And you're saying you would have to expand that definition within that section for the sale of beer and spirits, is that?
I think it clarifies it.
It's being proposed to add it under accessory uses as incidental, complementary, and secondary to the farm winery approved.
So the reason that we're looking for the beer and wine, obviously.
L Rose for the record. I got you.
Is because, you know, we have a lot more land in orchard than grapes. And we probably are gonna end up with like 5 to 7 acres of grapes. And we have a cider mill, so we're gonna get into making hard cider to go along. We want it to go along with it because it's really, in my research, it's like 50% of people like wine, 50% of people, you know, don't. They want something else. So we were going to be a unique winery that offers different levels of ciders. That's what we're trying to do.
I'm not opposed to it, I'm just trying to understand it.
That's why, not
so,
sure where
yeah.
it would fall, we asked for spirits and that would cover our cider. However, also it would cover it if you were having a wedding or something like that, you could,
Okay, so the incidental uses then for the sale of beer and spirits is for on-site consumption, correct?
Not retail.
As opposed to,
Not off-site? Is that,
Yeah.
yes,
okay, just point of clarification. All right.
Yeah, we might need to.
All right, so and so even though it's on-site for on-site consumption, I think, and I'm not sure, but it would probably require, what, 2 different liquor permits from the state?
yes.
Yes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, just, like I said, I'm in support of the application, I think, I'm just trying to understand it.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Why the difference, why is it 100-foot setback in residential zones and we're going with 50 in business zones?
because typically the use in business and industrial zone is more in line with the winery, so, you know, as opposed to a residential where it may conflict and you'd want a little bit more setback.
Where the thinking's coming from is because the I2 zones there are property lines that abut residential. So what if they want to put a building 50 feet from that residential line?
You can't, it's 100 feet.
No, not in an I2.
It still says 100 feet from residential,
No. No, it says 100 feet for residential zones.
from the residential zone.
So the setback,
So-
if you are in an industrial zone and you're abutting residential, that setback would actually be 50 feet in our current regulations.
Oh, okay.
Because you're 50 feet between an industrial and a residential zone. This regulation just calls out having a building setback for a winery in a residential zone as 100 feet.
Why wouldn't we make it 50 feet in residential?
Yeah, and I think that the original, the way it was worded was to give the adjoining residential neighborhood some space from the
Mhm.
winery use itself, so that there was a buffer. And I was trying to write this so that we had a plan, that North Branford would have plans that would come in that would not have parking lots in front of it, but would have them in the back and the side, where you would see the winery building, which I think is the allure of going there. And that's why, in keeping with the industrial zones at 50-foot setback, I thought it made a lot of sense. I thought it was also a good planning document to see the building and then the parkings along the side and the rear. That's where I was trying to go to. And I was trying to also to respect the basic overlay for those zones for setbacks. So,
The rendition that was shown a few meetings back showed it on the hill, sort of facing
kitty corner.
Valley Road, right?
Yes.
And the driveway could switch back in front. So-
Off of Valley Road, which
Yeah.
is where the.
Would it use the same parking lot that's
No.
the farm
No.
shop?
No. We're thinking, at this point, we have a lot of work to do, but in working with the family, we're thinking about the access off of Valley Road away from the intersection so that we'd have a safe queuing at that intersection, and working its way up to the lodge building, the winery building, that would sit at the knoll where the rock is, right where the tree, overlooking that entire area.
So in and out would be off Valley?
Yes, that's correct. That's what we're
It's
looking
only
at.
separate parking lot, okay.
That's correct.
Anything else, Trish? Anybody else like to speak? So because we're waiting for a referral, we will keep this open to, we'll keep the public hearing
From the
open.
Regional Council of Governments,
Yeah.
They're meeting next week.
the 8th, right?
So is the town council next week.
Yeah, then maybe we'll get some town council, I think town council's next Tuesday too.
Yes. But the town council had received it, I believe, earlier,
Okay.
but,
If we don't get it coming back, we don't. So.
okay.
All right, so this public hearing will be continued to our next meeting, which is,
June 15th.
exactly, June 15th. All right. All right, next order of business, we are, all right, so action on the public hearing, so since we closed the public hearing for PZ application 2016 and 15, that's the text, those are text amendments.
Right,
So we have two sets, correct?
yes.
So let's make sure we get this one straight. No, for the text, we have two sets.
Yeah, that's what I'm like
Yeah.
confused about. It's one application but two sets, so are we taking separate votes?
Yes, that's what I would recommend.
Yeah.
Because
Not in
it's
each
one's
one, not in each one, though.
Yeah.
As a group. There's two groups, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
They're all,
The
yeah.
two groups, yeah,
For
yeah.
the zoning regulations and the subdivision regulations.
Yeah, we're
One for the
separating,
zone-
we're having separate votes.
Right. For the subdivision regulation, which includes the one that we still,
Alright.
that one,
Problem solving, yes.
that will need to be denied.
Yep.
So I think which.
So this is the zoning regulation amendment, a motion, and then here's the language, just if you wanna look over everything. So in this motion, if you're looking to approve, I have with an effective date of June 16th, and then I have the various changes in the proposed regulation draft dated June 1st, which is what's in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And this includes the livestock, the lighting,
The lighting that we read today,
and some of
the
those.
notice of the public hearing, which
Yep.
talks about the certificate of mailing versus certified mail return receipt requested,
Here's a copy of Carrie has. Okay.
and the zoning compliance requirements. And application shall be signed by the property owner. And then again, a certificate of zoning compliance shall not be issued, you know, if there's any violations.
So these are ones we kind of rolled through before,
Mhm.
pretty much clarified them, we were in agreement. So if somebody would like to read them in.
Oh, read my turn.
So I have to read all of it. I'm gonna ask that question every time. I have to read all of this?
Yes.
North Branford Planning and Zoning Commission, June 1st, regular, 2017, regular meeting. A draft motion for a P and Z application 2016-15, zoning regulation amendment of the North Branford zoning ordinance regarding the following. Section 6, definitions relating to livestock. Section 41, site development plan standards relating to lighting requirements for flags. Section 61, zoning board of appeals relating to requiring the notice of adjacent municipalities and abutters via certificate of mailing as opposed to certified mail. Section 62, administration relating to requiring compliance with regulations and the owner's signature on all applications. And Section 63, amendments relating to notification requirements of abutters via certificate of mailing as opposed to certified mail. I make a motion to approve with an effective date of June 16, 2017. Planning and Zoning Application 2016-15, petition of the Planning and Zoning Commission to amend the North Branford zoning regulations to add proposed language to section 6, definitions as contained in the proposed regulation draft dated June 1st, 2017. To add proposed language under section 41, site development plan standards relating to lighting requirement for flags as contained in the proposed regulation draft dated June 1st, 2017. To modify under section 61, zoning board of appeals relating to requiring notice of adjacent municipalities and abutters via certificate of mailing as opposed to certified mail as contained in the proposed regulation draft dated June 1st, 2017. To add under section 62, administration relating to requiring compliance with regulations and requiring the property owner's signature on all applications as contained in the proposed regulation draft dated June 1st, 2017. And to modify under section 63, amendments relating to notification requirements of abutters by a certificate of mailing as opposed to certified mail as contained in the proposed regulation draft dated June 1st, 2017. Roll call vote.
Are you good?
I'm good.
All
I need a
right.
drink of water, though.
David, second?
Second the motion as presented.
All right, any discussion on it? I think we kind of rolled through all of them, so
No
if
discussion.
there's no discussion, it's gonna be a roll call vote. Trish, since you made the motion, you can kick it off.
I'm in agreement. I think it strengthens and tightens up our regulations and shows we're trying to be thoughtful and being progressive.
Dave?
I vote for the motion as presented. Just helps, like you said, define some additional requirements of the town ordinances.
I vote yes, for similar reasons, also helps clarify some of the state definitions as well. So that motion passes 3-0. Take that one. The next one, Dave, you get off the hook, because you don't have to read anything. So, let's talk, the next is the second part of it, is the subdivision portion of it. And being that we are looking to maybe strengthen it, clarify it, maybe rewrite it, so that group of regulations, that if that's what we wanna do on that,
The cisterns?
yes, then we would deny that, and we can kind of start slightly over. And we got a good starting point, we can just enhance it from there. So,
And there are other components of that, but because
It's
I just
group-
think it's cleaner just to
Right.
deny the changes to
so how
subdivision.
do we deny the second part of it?
I would just have on the record that you're, vote
I
to
wanna make
deny
it- I wanna-
any amendment
Motion?
right, a motion to deny any amendment to the subdivision regulations that were included in application 2016-15.
It was a little more difficult than I thought, Dave.
Sorry.
That's all right. Oh,
So let's make a motion to deny the proposed amendment to zoning subdivision regulation, PZ application 2615.
Yes.
yeah. Is there a second?
Second, yes.
Is there any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah.
Pirate talk.
And the reason, do we have to give reasons for that?
No,
Or
I think you already did.
Okay,
No.
all right, so that passes 3-0. The next one, we left the public hearing open, at least to next meeting. So moving right along to old business piece.
Oh, no,
I'm sorry.
Another two.
You
Did I miss
closed the
one?
public hearing on
Oh, yeah, I'm
Dash
sorry,
five.
I'm sorry.
2017-5.
Yes. Next, action, is PZ application 2017-5. So that is the extension, or the expansion,
Right.
of the creamery, so. Let's see here, let's take a look at a couple things. So we closed the public hearing. There was, there was talk about safety. I think Bob, brought some of his, there's more to on that area than just that. There's expanding
Yeah.
services in that area. So, with the application, any more thoughts on that at all? All right, so let's make a motion, and then we can have a further discussion on it.
I've added I've suggested some special conditions in there. Just adherence to some of the referrals that I received that are bolded in the middle.
And then standard conditions.
Right.
You don't have to read the standard conditions, you can just say 2, 4, but everything else we need to read.
Oh, good, because that is a lot. 2, 4, 10. All right, I make a, is it on here? Yep.
I make a motion to approve the planning and zoning application 2017-5, special use permit request under section 23, schedule A, line C 5.1, to allow a full-service food and beverage establishment with indoor and outdoor seating at 27 Branford Road, map 2, lot 13, I2 zone. Owner Alfred and Robert Rose, applicant Alfred Rose. As shown on the submitted application map and drawings prepared by Friscolo Engineering, LLC, 420 East Main Street, Branford, Connecticut, properly located at Rose Orchards, number 33, Branford Road, Route 139, North Branford, Connecticut. Site plan, the Creamery at Rose Orchards, dated March 4th, 2003, revised by hand and received May 3rd, 2017. Elm City Architects, 285 Notch Hill Road, North Branford, Connecticut. Preliminary plans for the pavilion at Rose Orchards, 33 Branford Road, Route 139, Branford, Connecticut, North Branford, Connecticut, dated May 22nd, 2017, with the following standard conditions: 2, 4, 7, 9, and 10, see below. And subject to the following special conditions: adherence to all applicable building codes and fire safety codes, adherence to the requirements of the town engineer and his memorandum dated May 26, 2017, and adherence to the requirements of the East Shore District Health Department in its memo dated June 1st, 2017. I do not need to read the standard conditions.
No, just say, just the numbers, with standard conditions.
Yeah,
2.
standard conditions 2, 4, 7, 9, and 10.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so let's have a little discussion on that. I mean, the only comment was for some of the traffic, but, I mean, we know that we're traffic challenged in our town.
Yeah, I don't think the traffic's it's not the traffic coming out of, it's the traffic trying to get into it due to the volume on the road, people coming down, trying to cross in. People aren't letting them in, so people behind them are beeping the horn, not
Yeah.
getting in and out.
And it's anywhere on Route 80
Yeah.
or 139.
Time of day.
Yeah, so, and I think Bob addressed that. Is there any?
Well, there was input from the police and there was no traffic issues, right?
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
So,
One thing this is the Creamery, right?
Yes.
Okay.
so since it is a public hearing, it's a roll call vote, and she started the motion, you kick it off again?
Well, did anybody second it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dave seconded.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, I was very involved in my reading. I'm in agreement because, I mean, it fits with the use and it's a great direction to move in terms of business and economy for the town.
I vote in favor of the motion too, also because as Al had mentioned before, it helps expand the use of the farm and keeps people in town and creates more business for the town.
Yep. And I agree with the same points that both of you made. So that passes 3-0. Okay. So moving along, so now the next one we can't do.
The next one we're taking.
Right.
That's tabled. So we're gonna go to old business, PZ application 2016-2 2000 Foxton Road. So that's where the, remember, Dave, you weren't here for the last meeting, but they wanted to, move the fence. Originally,
We talked about that before. on the side.
Yeah.
oh, were you here for that?
Yeah.
Okay, I
They were
wasn't
gonna
sure.
go from a chain to a wood and
Okay, you
how
were here.
close it was,
Yep.
and move it farther out,
All right.
right?
So what do we have?
So, okay, I have a few things. So, here's a letter from the neighbor as a result of the last meeting, just reiterating, concerns about changing things based on what was approved. I met with Tim Helmrich today. Let me know if you can't hear me, Mr. Winter. Okay. Okay. So I met with Tim, he came by, he provided the proposal as was promised at the last meeting. So there's a proposal here for fall planting, it says, from Christensen Landscape Services, which is in Northford. It says northeast side of the property, adjacent to 246 linear feet of land trust land. So again, that's along the eastern side of the property. It says Christensen Landscape Services recommendation, option 1, viburnum triobum, which is the American cranberry bush viburnum. Option 2 is forsythia. I spoke with David Christensen today just to get a little bit more information from him about, what he would recommend. He reiterated that the viburnum is a local, it's native, so it's not an evergreen, however. The forsythia, however, is not native to Connecticut, so that's why he has option 1 as the viburnum. They recommended 62 of these. They would be planted on top of a berm that exists on the property now, which is about 20 feet in from the property line. There's a pretty dense canopy cover that already exists. So I questioned him, would they survive? And he thought, they would require some attendance. But Tim had told me today that he has a plan to water them. And again, because we're kind of past the spring season, the proposal is to get them in the fall. He has a copy of a bond for $3,000. The estimated cost of the viburnum is $2,170. I have pictures of what the viburnum looks like when it's flowering and then in the winter, and then the forsythia as well, if you want to see those.
Where do they want these planted?
So they would be planted
Along the fence line?
20 feet in from the property line on the eastern side of the property. So here's the property
Okay.
line, 20 feet in where this dashed line is.
Yep.
And I was at the site today and I took some photos. So the other concern that we've been going back and forth on quite a bit with Mr. Helmrich is just the amount of material on the property in that corner specifically, and just concerns about cleaning that up because there is a residential area and our zoning regulations say that you can't have anything stored or parked within 50 feet of a residential zone. So I took photos and you'll see the dates, and these are from March. And
So, okay.
so.
These are the same angle, so.
That's the same date. So this
Okay.
is when Route 80 is right here.
Okay.
This is the land trust property. There's a split rail fence there. This is when you look in from Route 80s to your back here.
Okay.
Now this is that same spot today. There's a pile of material there. Tim had explained that those millings are being spread around the property. They're not ready to pave yet, but that's expected. I'm not sure what the timeline is for paving. Do you know when?
Be later in the summer. And they also brought a loader in today to start to take the product out of there. Now that it's drying up a little bit, we won't track mud out onto Route 80 when we leave with it. So the loader is there. Today they had a fire department drill there this evening, and they started already to clean that up.
Okay.
That material is material from the property.
Okay. This is also from March, so again, you can kind of see, I tried to circle what's similar. Like, so
Okay.
this is what it looks like today. There has been, all of this wood has been removed. This chain link fence, you can't see because it's overgrown. But the 50 feet has been, the tractor trailer that was there has been removed. There's just the piles of debris. This shows, it's not the great picture, but there's a cedar post here, and this is actually a berm. So this is looking towards the residential lot.
So this goes uphill?
Where Mr. Goodmaster lives. There's a berm here, and then it's a slight
rise?
incline, yeah.
Okay.
So all these photographs facing the building are to the right?
Correct. The building is,
Right.
the,
Not where the gas pump is to the left?
Correct.
Okay.
So,
Now it shows the blue bars.
that's what she's saying
Yes.
is so the property owner's up here, this is where the berm is, it's a slight incline going up the left side. What do you have here?
this is the same like wooded area, the residential area or properties to the right. This is that back
That's pretty
corner,
much
that's
easy.
another one of the cedar posts.
That must be pretty full yard.
And that's where they're proposing to plant the viburnum. And then this is what it had looked like in March where the tractor trailer, and this is that corner now.
So all this, what was this, just the?
This is, some of that
Continuation?
still exists.
So this person, Goodmaster,
Like this,
he's the
is
property
still
behind
there.
it?
Yeah, he's right here.
Okay.
So this is looking, Route 80 would be to your left here,
Okay.
but that's outside of the 50-foot area.
So, okay.
So, and I just want to show you these. So the telephone pole is the same in these two. So you
Yeah.
can see those cars have been removed, but the piles of dirt are there.
Right.
And then this is what the front had looked like, but now it's clear.
All that's left is in that area.
Okay.
And then the front of the building, which was, here is this.
Now, but they do a towing business, right?
Yes.
If you tow a vehicle in and you store the vehicle, what is the time frame before you can actually get rid of it?
It could be over a year.
Right, so he's gotta store vehicles on the property.
Right. And those areas are labeled on the plan.
Okay.
So there's an impoundment area.
Right.
And then there's, all of this area, as long as it's 50 feet from that.
Which is where a lot of the stuff is now.
Correct. Right.
So, let's get back to the
Right.
point of the matter. One, it's the fact, now, just to clarify, until all this work is done, no seal will be given, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
They're-
so-
and they are, yes,
For
correct.
The gas business?
Sorry?
So it's operating business, what's the CO for?
No, the gas, the,
For gas, okay.
Right, that's what I'm-
actually
Okay.
servicing
Okay.
or selling the
So-
gas.
Permit to
Yeah.
sell petrol.
Right. So, the concerns of the cleaning it up and, that's a zoning enforcement officer,
Yep.
so we're not in court. What we have in front of us is
Yeah, what's
the,
the application
so,
in front of us?
well, they're asking for us to modify it, so
Yep.
just to go back, originally, there was a chain link fence at 50 feet.
Yep.
And the 50 feet came from that they cannot put anything in 50 feet within, or to the property owner's, or to his property, the property line 50 feet in is the closest you can put it. So that's where the 50 feet chain link came in. So they're asking us to modify that to a wood fence. A wood fence, correct?
No, just planting,
Just the plantings, and no fence.
no fence.
Okay.
Didn't they move the fence too? It was,
To 20, yeah.
To 20 feet where the berm is,
okay.
so.
But now, the proposal is just for plantings within 20 feet, or at the 20-foot line from the property line on the east.
Yeah.
And the planting would be the viburnum.
Or
Right.
I remember last meeting, there was a letter,
You know? Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
last meeting, there was a letter, I think you just referenced it, no, from somebody about the soil and.
Yes, the land
just
trust.
Read that again, or read their input again?
So their input is, this is from Mike Ferrucci of the Land Trust. This was on May 18th. He said, "We will not attend the meeting, but submits these comments. A 6-foot tall fence located 50 feet from the property line as in current plans is acceptable to us. If this condition is changed, it should be to provide a similar barrier that is visually appropriate and performs a screening function. An alternate plan involving plantings to develop a living fence placed 20 feet from the property line is also acceptable, provided there are provisions for maintaining the living fence permanently, and provided the planting plan is developed by an experienced landscape architect or plantsman. The plan should specify the desired condition of the living fence. For example, within 5 years, the living fence is expected to provide a continuous vegetative barrier at least 6 feet wide and at least 5 feet tall. Should portions of the planted material die or be damaged, they will be promptly replanted such that the damaged portions will return to the expected condition within 3 years. If these conditions are not met, then the property owner will install a fence at the originally agreed upon location 50 feet from the property line. The applicant told me that the soils on most of the area that he would plant are of sufficient quality to support the plants, according to the person providing advice to him. I have not examined the soils recently, and when I did look, I only looked at a small portion closest to Route 80. Thus, my earlier comments about the challenging planting conditions are replaced by criteria for success described in point number 2 above.
Some of the things he's asking for us to do, we would not be able to do that. What I
Explain.
mean by that is that once they plant it and the bond goes away, if it dies, I don't think we don't have the ability to say, okay, now we have to put a fence in.
Say in 5 years, he wants a 6-foot wide natural screen.
If we plant forsythia, I know about that. The other plant, I don't know about.
No.
If you want to get an idea of what forsythia will do, stop up at my house, 59 Sea Hill Road, hold on in the driveway anytime you want, and walk into the backyard. That's just, and you'll see forsythia all around. In the summer, in the early spring, it's the first plant to come out and flower. And it's a river of yellow flowers. But they don't last very long, unfortunately.
2 weeks, right?
But as far as the growth is concerned, you'll get an idea of what the growth is.
So what do our regs say again about?
Now, one more thing, the forsythia in the back has been there for quite a few years. The forsythia down each side is comparatively recent. I can't honestly tell you, it's maybe 5, maybe 4, maybe 7 years. Prior to the forsythia, I had Canadian hemlock. And they got the bug that came over from Japan or wherever.
Woolly aphids.
Pretty well killed them. It didn't kill them, but it ate all the lower branches so that they didn't serve the purpose that I wanted them to. So I had them all removed, and I planted the forsythia, actually from cuttings that I cut from the bushes that I had there. So why I'm telling you all of this, it'll give you a very good idea of how rapidly forsythia grows and how completely it gives you a good site barrier. That's it. Any questions?
But it's not evergreen?
Yep.
Hold, yeah.
No, it's not evergreen, but it becomes so thick that in the wintertime, the leaves are late to fall, but when they fall, the branches are so numerous that you can't see through them.
This is not a public hearing, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so the comments
It's not
are,
what?
it's not, it's
No,
not
no,
a
no,
public
he's
hearing,
okay.
but the comments
Right.
from other audience members when they should not be speaking is distracting, so
I'm sorry.
just wanted to.
No,
clarify.
you're okay.
No, you're
No,
fine.
you're fine.
It's from other people. It's just distracting. Do our regs, because the two words I'm hung up on are, their privacy in, one letter and other discussions, and a privacy fence and like a screening fence. What do our regs say specifically again about a fence? Because a fence is different from privacy and screening. I just want to know what our regs say
There's no
again.
neighbor, it's land trust.
Yeah, that's
No,
why I
the,
just.
yeah, then there's the one, he lives up here. Just,
My goodness.
where is it? Yeah, right here.
Where's his house? Does he have to walk down in the corner of his yard and look in to see anything?
Oh, I don't know, I think it runs a little bit uphill here.
There's a very small portion of our property that borders on anything where there's people.
Right.
The rest is mostly, land trust,
Right.
hollyhocks and frogs.
Sorry, let me just find this section.
I think the two words, well, here, are kind of a bit interchangeable.
Well,
Private-
are they
yeah,
in our
yeah.
regs? I don't think
There's nothing-
privacy
I
and
d-
screening are in our regs.
There's nothing specific that tells you what the privacy and screening is.
Yeah, but I don't even think those words are in our regs. That's what
No,
I'm
it's
No.
a, it's a, it's a green belt, so the, in business and I-2 and I-3 districts, in addition, this is under landscaping, under site plan. In addition to the provisions of, paragraph 41.2.12a, which is, talking about landscaping, there shall be provided in the area required for setback from a residence district boundary line, a green belt having a width not less than 1/3 of the width of the required setback area, planted with trees and shrubs of suitable species, no less than 50% of which being evergreens. Any new planting shall have a minimum after planting and pruning of 6 feet. Suitable existing trees and shrubs may be preserved or augmented by new planting to form the required green belt. The commission, however, may approve fences, walls, or other means of landscaping in substitution for the green belt when the commission determine that the purpose of the green belt will be accomplished.
Let's say it has to be 6 feet after pruning. So any bush you plant has to be 6 feet in diameter, or 12 feet in diameter?
Doesn't say diameter, but.
They just went 6 feet high.
Oh, high,
I
okay.
mean,
I just wanted to clarify our regs, because
Right.
a barrier for privacy and screenings is much different than a green belt or a fence. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's why I just
Yeah.
needed to know what data we're using to make decisions.
Yeah.
Now, that's just along the east side. There's also a fence for a portion in the back and a portion in the front. Are those still going in, or is no fence? Totally remove the whole
The
fence?
fence in the front is there.
Okay.
But there's a,
Is that a fence right here?
Oh, that's what they wanna move. So that, they're continuing.
The
Oh,
back
I see what you're
fence?
saying.
I don't think the,
Oh, there's a fence
Right.
here, here, and here. This is chain link. Is the one in front of chain link now, or is that wood?
Pardon?
That's a wooden fence.
Right.
so the wooden fence that's there would stay there, correct?
That's
But
the DOT property.
there had-
Actually, it's our property.
Okay, but on the
There-
plan, there's another chain link in
Right.
front with a gate behind the wood fence.
which is, according to Tim, I don't
There
believe.
was a section there when the bus company rented that lot years ago.
Okay.
There was a piece of chain link fence there, correct?
But on the plan, it says new 6-foot chain link fence.
I don't know, I didn't draw up that thing.
That was from the
That
50
is not
feet.
proposed now.
Yeah, it's in the
That's
front.
another change.
Oh, it's in the front.
So the change is all wood fronts?
The
all
change they're
wood?
asking for is on the east side.
Right.
Correct, but they're also, Tim had mentioned not having a chain link fence on the front, only having the wood fence, because now that
Okay.
they are working with DOT to acquire that land in the front again,
yeah.
they were gonna just leave what's there. And then eventually Tim had mentioned about putting a gate in the front, but would have to wait until after the land is acquired from DOT.
You did get a letter from the DOT saying they released the property, correct?
Just the one that you had shared with us at the last meeting,
Yeah.
the May 4th.
They accepted the proposal to repurchase our own property.
Right.
Did they pay you for it in the
Right.
beginning?
1966, when the map was drawn out, it didn't properly record it in the town. So 50 years later, we're now purchasing again.
They give you a bill, did you have a bill of sale from the 1962 that say, I already bought it?
We have
So are we
all
just
those
doing the east
maps
side?
too, They just didn't
Hmm?
get filed properly.
Yeah.
No, it'd be no, so the changes that we're discussing, the main one is the changing the fence on the eastern side to a living fence, which would be based on Christensen landscaping proposal by Burnham or Forsythia. He had recommended viburnum because that's native. So that's one change, and also instead of at 50 feet from the property line, it would be 20 feet
On the berm.
on the berm that exists. And then there would not be a chain link fence along parallel to Route 80. There would just be the wooden fence that exists today. They would add a gate at a later date once the property is acquired from DOT. And the fence around the above-ground tank would also be installed, but they have to wait until after they pave.
All right, how about the fence, how about the fence in the north section? So you have on the eastern side,
Right.
and then the fence was supposed to make a left-hand turn.
Around the trailers.
Why?
Correct.
That's gonna be,
There's a few feet up in there.
I'm sorry?
There's a few feet up in there that it'll turn back to the center of town.
No, in the back, what's gonna be replacing the back part of the fence?
There's no fence there at all.
No, but are you gonna, no, that's where the proposed fence was. See it?
Oh, is there a short section of?
Short section on the north side. So what's gonna be there? You're gonna continue
There's
the,
beautiful planning in there now, it would be a shame to go in there and cut that down. I also have to add, the reason the berm is there, where it is, Kerry, is because the water comes down off Seagull Road, down through their backyard, comes down and goes all the way out Route 80. The reason they put the
Yeah, I know,
berm there
there was a fence in
to
there,
divert the
right?
water over to the stream where the land trust property is, so that then doesn't cross the road. And that was done years ago.
Uh-huh.
Because after they developed above Seagull Road,
Behind this?
the other development, when they disturbed that, the water
it's all
comes
cleaned
down
up.
there,
This
and
was,
rains.
this is what it
Down
was,
the
this is what it's now.
backyard, down along the
I think.
berm now and out.
Okay.
That was a major contention years ago, but, you know, we never got any.
it's all grown in now.
We literally developed the property on top of Seagull Road and flooded the lower part of Seagull Road. But the berm is there to change the direction of the berm.
Right, okay.
Top of the berm.
Just another clarification question. So this is a revision of a site plan, which is separate from what's ever going on with the CO and?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
This
Yes.
is completely different. Yeah, there was, so Ray, what they're asking for is basically to modify the site plan based on eliminating the chain link fence.
And a natural screening versus a fence.
Mhm.
Well, it's also removing
Moving
it, right, to the berm.
To the 20-foot setback, right?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing is, they're talking about leaving this the way it is. I think that needs to be included in there. That was on the original plan.
I don't know the original plan, so go ahead. Keith.
This is on the original plan, that the fence was supposed to be in the northern part. Just to leave what's there, I don't know what's back there. So if you're considering moving it and changing to a natural fence, or a natural screening, I think it needs to be continued in the back.
Needs to be consistent.
Yeah, because what they're talking about is not, they're talking about eliminating this completely here. The northern section, with nothing.
What's the fence gonna do, though?
No, I'm not saying, no, I'm just saying, if it's gonna be, if we're gonna, if you're
You
considering.
take the fence out of there.
If you're yeah, and this would be natural screening.
Yeah, yeah.
He said that they were just gonna leave it the way, whatever screening was currently there.
This is what's there, that's looking in that direction, in that corner.
Well, I'm saying, like,
Oh, okay, so
there's
there's a house behind all that?
The house is over to the right.
So is it completely screened from all trees and different things like that?
Well, right now, with all the leaves out.
Okay.
well, the
If you, when you
But this-
walk
yeah,
up,
I got, no, I'm just saying that's.
right. I'm trying to see
So
through.
maybe we don't need this up back there.
Right, I'm just thinking that he's gonna, there's
You
5
can-
trailers back there, which are 13 feet tall.
Right, so there's no screen's gonna make a difference.
Right, and the fence is 6 feet high, so you got 6 feet of fence, and you got
Right.
another
And there's already
trailer.
natural.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I got you.
So this is looking over to the neighbors, but they're not proposing a fence right now.
Well, that's the
No,
question.
No.
Oh, I see.
What I was saying.
Oh, you're
yes.
saying it's 6 feet tall, gotcha, okay.
Well, they're eliminating the front fence, they're eliminating the side
Yes.
fence. Are they also eliminating the back fence?
Yes.
Yes, that's
All
what I
the
was getting
fence.
at, yeah.
Yes.
Well, the front fence is gonna be a wooden stockade.
Well,
Right.
that's a
What's
separate
there?
fence. There's a separate fence.
Right,
Oh.
so that's the
Two
wooden.
fences.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the wooden's gonna be in the front. The request is for this to be the natural fencing, and then this, we're not gonna, there will be nothing back there, except for what's currently back there is the natural habitat.
One question I have is, if they move the fence over, or the natural screen over to the 20-foot boundary, does that move the trailer spaces over, or they stay where they are?
They still can't, they can't infringe on the 50 feet.
Okay, all right.
So that's where the fence
Right.
line came up originally,
Okay.
when they came up with the drawings. So,
Okay.
I mean,
Had you looked at any of the evergreens, like spruce tree or any,
I spoke to one of the Christian people about it, and he said very costly, number one, to do that with the arborvitae's. Yeah, deer like those.
Right,
And from there, I asked him, what could we do that would satisfy everybody and not put us in the poorhouse again? Chain link fence is exceptionally expensive. And we just went down the line, and I think that forsythia taken care of, because there's water right there. There's no problem with water to be able to keep that moist as long as it rains, because the water runs right down that berm, right into the river that's there.
Another question about the evergreens is whether there's a question about whether they would get enough sun. Because there's so many trees on the other side that it's really quite shady there. As you probably know,
So-
because you've been there enough times.
right?
I mean, what's that?
So is it in discussion or questions, or go?
No, I mean, if you have any other questions, I mean, we approved it with the chain link fence, and now they're asking for the change, are you comfortable with making that change? I mean, I'll be completely transparent. I don't like going back and changing things just for the sake of changing. Doing a natural habitat though, versus a fence, I think it seems to be a little bit better.
Well,
I mean,
and that's why I think the rereading the regs was good, because if you look at the regs, the first part of it is a green belt, and then after that, other options are a fence. So, I mean, I think to go to a natural habitat supports
and I think
obviously
it's
nature, and then
from
the
all the
regs.
pictures Carrie showed, I mean, yeah, there's leaves on the trees right now, but it seems to be a fair amount of natural screening on top of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Then, and I know that the leaves will fall and it will clear away, and there might be some, but would it be better than a fence?
Actually, I think,
And,
but this is, what are they?
Yeah, whatever.
The yellow flowering bush will grow taller than the
It's all
fence,
over the place.
so in 5 years.
I'm not quite,
Yeah.
Really? They're all over the
They'll
place?
grow 12 feet tall.
Yeah, we used to tear them up in the farm.
Yeah.
So, or
So-
not around here.
There were two options on there. Do you have a preference of one versus the other? It's the viburnum or the forsythia?
Well, we said the viburnum wasn't natural.
No, the forsythia actually is
How big does
considered
the,
invasive. It's low on the invasive list, but
Well, that's
How
you
big
want-
does
they
the
want
viburnum
spread,
grow?
right?
I'm familiar in real life with the forsythia. How big?
viburnum,
Yeah.
I believe they get big as well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. The thing that's nice about the viburnum is that it's native and also it has berries.
Create a pattern alter. No, I'm being a little
Yeah.
facetious, but not, I don't know how to choose between one or the other. I don't know
Does
how
that
to
stay
make that
green all
call.
year?
No, neither one does.
Looks like holly almost.
You know what I mean? I don't know how to make the call one or the
Can
other.
do you have an explanation on each one of the different options?
Is
Beg your
one,
pardon?
the different options you have, what are the actual differences in the growth of each of them?
I'm not familiar with the first one. I'm familiar with the second forsythia. The forsythia in my backyard about across the back is, yeah, 8, 10, maybe 12, yeah, 12 foot tall. That's the old one.
Certainly would make a nice divider between the
Which-
properties, that's
Which
for
one's
sure.
native?
Viburnum.
I think this is like.
Maybe,
thicker,
maybe
you
they could
know?
do a mix, maybe do the viburnum
Yeah, I
closer
know.
to the land trust property, and then forsythia.
Do we have to be specific on this?
Yeah, my other question was, who regulates how far they get planted from each other? How do we make sure they're
So
planted at
I was
appropriate
going with
spaces?
what the landscape company proposed.
They know how close to.
You know, planted 4 foot on center, you know, they,
Oh, okay, somebody.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I
So
just
maybe
don't know
we
how to
go
choose
with-
one plant. Is one lower maintenance? I don't know how to choose one versus another. It just.
With the land trust, what was his recommendation?
They have two options. Option 1, viburnum. Option 2, forsythia. He just made the comment that of the two, viburnum is native, forsythia is not native.
So those are his two options.
Yes.
I mean, if you go with the native,
It was imported.
go
Does
with-
native mean one grows better? Because I see forsythia, like on my street, there's a ton of it.
Right.
So does native matter?
Well, it does in that for the larger environment, it doesn't take over habitat that invasive. We could do a mix.
It already exists, right? So it already exists there, is what it means by native. In
Like
that area.
it's
Yeah, like it's.
natural to the area, the climate.
It was imported
It
to
doesn't
Connecticut.
take over.
Yeah, like-
Who would determine a mix?
Well, we could look to landscape company.
So what would we do if we wanted to make a change?
I would, yeah,
Let's say a
based on
mix.
their recommendation.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
So basically, we're approving the
Was it
natural
maybe-
screening versus the fence, and they're gonna decide what
With
to put.
conditions.
Right,
I don't
maybe
know.
based on this proposal dated May 25th, you know, I have the information in this motion.
Are we good with that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Go with the natural? Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I hate to do this, but can we take a recess?
Sure.
Can somebody make a motion? Take a 5-minute recess?
I make a motion to take a 5-minute recess.
Second.
Please second.